I think that's enough work. It's 1 o'clock. I think I need a break. And while we do that, I will tell you about my little traumatic experience with immigration at the airport when we came back from our last trip. So, backstory, I am a permanent resident of Mexico, and I have been that for 6 years now. Well, first temp for 2 years and then 4 years as permanent. And my name is Betsy, for those of you who don't know me. My husband is Nico, he's a Mexican citizen, and we travel probably 8 to 10 times a year, to give you a backstory. Now, I am one of those people that I believe you should carry proper identification. With that, so for example, I have a lot of friends, love y'all, but that come into Tijuana with just their driver's license or go back with just their driver's license. And I feel if you're going to come into another country, you should have your passport. So that's an important part of the story, because a lot of those friends will say, oh, I've been doing this since, 20 years. So I don't want this story to come off like, oh, I've been doing this for the last 6 years and we travel 8 to 10 times a year. No one has ever said anything to me, because I truly thought that what I was doing was correct. So if you have traveled in Mexico, you know that they are not very strict with double checking your name against your flight information, right? They just like come right through. But that's neither here nor there. When you land in Tijuana, it is the only airport that I can think of where national flights, as you are going towards baggage claim, they will check your IDs. And they've been doing that consistently for about the last 2 years. Consistently. But even our last trip in November, they didn't. Anyway, so you come through to baggage claim and they're checking everyone's IDs. And they tell you, passport, or your INE, whatever. Okay, so I am a permanent resident of Mexico. So I have a little green card que dice residente permanente. And that is what I have always shown. Backstory, my facilitator had told me, as long as I am traveling within Mexico, I only need to travel with that. In the beginning, because I was all cautious, I would also ask when we would do check-in, we would check in luggage, which we don't do very often. Do I need anything else? No. Con tu residencia permanente, it is a ID from the Mexican immigration office. So that is what I have traveled with. I never travel with my US passport. Ever. Never have. So we get off towards baggage claim, está caminando en chinga because everyone wants to get to baggage claim. My husband's in front of me, he's already walked. I'm showing my ID, and they don't even look at the ID, right? They just scan, barely look at it, and you keep walking. In these 6 years, this is the 3rd time that I've ever been paused. The first time, the woman asked me how long I had been a resident, and I told her how many years. The second time, and these are months apart, the other time she just kind of looked at it longer, and then I found out that the residency card for permanente has changed color. So mine is green. I think the newer ones are beige. Okay, so this time he stops me, and so I'm waiting for him to give me back my card and just let me keep walking. He says, ¿Tienes otra identificación? And I look at him and I'm like, full attitude, little misentitled, full attitude. I was like, no, this is mi residencia permanente. And he looks at me, he goes, ¿Y tu pasaporte? I'm like, no necesito viajar, no estoy viajando internacionalmente, estoy viajando aquí en México. And he looks at me and he says, you need to have your passport. And so I look at him and I go, el pasaporte de Estados Unidos no sirve para nada. Más importante es mi tarjeta de residencia de México. Now, if you know me, especially in person, I am very proud of my permanent residency card. I show it to everyone. I love being an immigrant. I love my little green card. So now, apparently, I raised my voice because now my husband has now come back, and he's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "They want my passport." And my husband's like, "What passport?" And I'm like, "My U.S. passport." And he's like, "What for?" And I'm like looking at the guy. I'm like, so now the guy is like holding my card like away from me. So now I'm like panicking. And he said, "You need to travel with your US passport." And now I'm like, okay. And he says, "Do you want me to take this away from you?" And I'm like, "No." And he says, "The next time I see you, you need to have your US passport." Now, my little smart-ass part of my brain almost wanted to tell him, "Well, I'll be back here in 2 weeks, so I'll see you then." But I didn't. I just took my little card from him and I left. But this bothered me for so many reasons. Because why I see people just travel with their U.S. driver's license. Why is that more valuable than my residencia permanente? So, if you are a temporary resident or a permanent resident, apparently you're supposed to be carrying your U.S. passport. Again, I had checked with my facilitator 6 years ago, and I had checked with airport personnel. What I have since learned is airport personnel only care about your residency card as identification. It is immigration that cares where you are a citizen of. So that was my experience. So I guess I'll be traveling with my passport, which I hate traveling with my passport because I still don't think I need it, but I do. I do. Legally, I do. So that was my experience. So yeah, lesson learned.